We are live. Okay, hi guys, and welcome to a brand new masterclass. And of course, normally you're used to the normal tools for dummies, but now we have masterclasses. And the first masterclass is from the well-known Maurice humming. Woo! And he's going to talk about photography and especially about night photography, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so come to the stage. To the stage.
I'll switch the microphones.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. First I'm going to plug myself in. Hopefully it wasn't too much weird noise when I... Yeah, and here we are. Alright, welcome everyone to the masterclass for night photography. Today I'm going to talk about everything that I do in photography. So I'm going to start with a small introduction about myself, the things I do, and then I'm going to talk you through a night out with the camera. So that's basically going to be it. It's going to be around 15 minutes. And of course, when you have questions, you can ask them in the chat. I switched places with Maurice, so Maurice is now behind the computer for the live stream. So she can see the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to ask, and then Maurice is going to wave and shout, and then I'm going to answer those questions. Yeah. So if you hear weird noises in the background, it's going to be Maurice. I'm going to remove my water bottle, by the way. Yeah. And let's get started with the PowerPoint. So I'm going to start with a small introduction, short history about myself. So when I was 8 years old, I got my first camera. It was a compact camera. It was with a film in it, very old school because I'm that old that digital cameras weren't on the commercial market yet. Then I started playing with that. I started playing with the old SLR camera, so not the digital, but with a film in it, camera of my father. And then later on, when I was around 15, 16 years old, I bought my own first digital SLR camera. And I continued buying stuff, and then you all end up with a table full of stuff in the end. And in 2014, I started my own company, and I'm still doing that. So maybe some of you know me as a tool teacher over here at the Hanse. I do that part-time, and the other days in the week I'm doing photography and video and also some live streaming, but mostly photography. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So to give you a little idea of what kind of pictures I make, I have some examples. I did a cake smash photo shoot, some product pictures for a shop that sells bikes, some drone photography. This was in Zeeland, in the south of the Netherlands. Event photography. We have more. Also landscapes. This was made on Iceland. Weddings. I do weddings photography-wise and also videos. News things. So when there's a big fire, I'm going to take some pictures of it for a news website. I've been a party photographer for like 10 or 12 years, somewhere in between, in a club in the place I live, in Drachten. I still do that when the clubs are open, of course. And this is one of the pictures I've shot. Portrait pictures too. Product pictures for local shops in Drachten. Sport photography. And also for some cultural things, so musea and things like that. So it's a lot what I do, a lot of different types of photography. But what I like the most is definitely night photography. Also, the first pictures I've ever sold were night shots. I have some examples that look like the ones I've sold back then. So the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis, Lightning, also one of the things. Maybe you also see this thing in front already, but more on the gear later. And also, just in the Netherlands, the first picture was shot in Iceland, the second one in Italy, and this one is just in the Netherlands. So you don't have to go to all different countries to make pictures, nice night pictures, but you can also do it in the Netherlands. Even in your own place, maybe. I've shot this picture in Drachten, the place I live in. I have some more on that. Also in the end, I'm going to show these pictures full screen, so you can see them a little bit better, and we have questions I can hopefully answer them. Also Drachten, with a nice cycle bridge over the highway. And once again, the Northern Lights, aurora. Another picture of lightning I've shot. I think it was a 30-minute drive from my home. And more aurora borealis. The one on the left, where I'm now standing in front of. Can you switch a little, Maurice? Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you. So I've shot that one in Amsterdam. You have the Amsterdam Light Festival, and of course it's nice to walk around and look around, but it's also nice to take pictures. And it's really easy. You just need a tripod and a camera. But when I get to the gear, I'll talk to you more about that. Another picture of lightning. Another one in Drachten, and a picture of a windmill. Also with a nice starry background behind it. You can't really see it, but when I show them full screen, I can tell more about that. So, I'm going to talk you through a night out, my style, so photography style. So, we have 3 steps. The first step is preparation. The second step is the things you can do on the location. And the last step is editing, and I'm going to take you through my Adobe Lightroom workflow. So you can see what I do with selecting the pictures, editing the pictures, exporting the pictures. So all those things. Are there already some questions, Maurice, or not yet? Not yet? All right, then we just continue. So preparation. When I'm planning a night out to take pictures, sometimes it's just I'm sitting on the couch and I just go out and just see what I find. But when I really plan nights out, first I'm going to search for a nice location. When you're, for example, going to take pictures of the stars, you really want a location with, you can't go to the city center of Groningen and take pictures of the stars very good. It is possible, but you get a lot of light pollution. So I search for places more or less remote, where you don't see the lights of the city very much. In the Netherlands, it's kind of hard, but when you, I live in Drachten, which is in Friesland, and when I drive for like 30 minutes, I'm at the north coast of the Netherlands, and on the islands, the Waddeneilanden, it's less polluted than when you go to the south of the Netherlands. So that's one big advantage of living in the north. The other thing you have to keep in mind is the weather, of course. It's not really nice when it's pouring rain. It's also not very good for your camera too. So check the weather. And also when it's clouded, it's very hard to take pictures of the sky when it's clouded. So that's also one thing to keep in mind. Then we get to the gear. I check my gear. I check what I want to take with me. Of course, a tripod and my camera. So I check if the batteries are full, if the cards are empty, if the batteries of my remote are full, and all those things, if I have everything together. Sometimes I put lenses in different bags, and I'm going to grab my bag real quick. When I go out for a longer time, I take this big bag, and you can put lots of things in it. It's really handy, not very good for your back though, but every once in a while, that's fine. So that's the basic gear check, and the things I bring with me. Like I said, the tripod and the camera. I also mentioned the remote already. I use my remote because when you're taking pictures with a long shutter speed, hopefully you remember that from last year, 1.2, photography. You want a steady camera. So if you're shooting a picture with a shutter speed of like 2 seconds handheld, that's not very easy. So if you use a tripod, then most of the time that's okay. But when you take a picture with long exposure and you're tapping the camera, you can not really see, but it's shaking a little bit when you're pressing the button to take the picture. So then you use a tripod, but then in the end you end up with a picture that's blurry. So therefore I use a remote, and I have a wireless remote. Let me turn the remote on, also my camera on. Hopefully you can hear it. So it's really easy to take pictures like this. You don't have to touch your camera, only in the beginning to set up the camera itself. So therefore I use a tripod. I have different lenses for different types of shots. This is my wide angle lens I have on it right now. I also have a zoom lens, which zooms a little bit more than the wide angle one. I have a telephoto lens and 2 portrait lenses, which I don't use very often for night photography, but for the other pictures I use it sometimes. And of course some spare batteries. I have a camera grip underneath my camera, a battery grip. I can store 2 batteries in there, and I always have 2 spare batteries with me too. Same for the cards. I empty my card, but I also want a spare card, so when that one's full I can still continue taking pictures, because when you found a nice location, the weather is good, you drove maybe for like 2 hours in an extreme case, and you're standing over there, you really want to grab those pictures, catch those things you want to catch. And when your battery dies, it's very sad. So keep that in mind when you're going out taking pictures. So that's more or less the basic gear. Then you also have the special gear, and the special gear can vary a little bit. So for example, when I know I'm going to take pictures of the lightning, I want to make sure I have this thing with me. It's a lightning detector. I've placed this onto my camera just as a remote, but this thing itself is also more or less the remote. You connect your camera through a cable to this thing, and this one recognizes the difference in light. There's a small eye in front of it, and as soon as the lightning strike hits, this is going to send a signal to the camera, and then the camera knows it has to take a picture. So you have to set it up in the beginning, and then place this on it, adjust some settings until it's no longer beeping, but it's too light around here, and then it's ready to go. So once you have it and you know how you have to work with it, it's really easy to have a thing like that.
Expensive?
This one is like, I think it was like 220 euros. Maurice asked if it was expensive, but it depends which one you buy. This one is a little bit more expensive because I do it a lot. I also like it a lot, so that's why I bought that thing. I also have an older one which was like 130 euros, but that one could also do time lapses. Very quick. A time lapse is a series of photos placed behind each other in 25 frames per second, so each second has 25 pictures. So it looks like it's a video speed up very quickly. So then you can see maybe over a period of 4 hours just in 5 seconds. So that's where you can use a time lapse for. So with that thing I can do, but I also can do a time lapse with this remote. Other things, maybe not very, it's not that you think of it first when you think of photography. For example, it says sterretjes in Dutch, but sparklers. sometimes I use those to fill in the frame. Maybe you saw the video we have made for Tools for Dummies, the photography one for this year, where I waved with the flashlight of my phone, and then I did some sort of drawing, right? Yeah. You can also do that with sparklers, and it looks really fun. I have some pictures. I have at least one picture in the end. Then you know what it looks like a little bit. So all those things can be special gear. I also have an example. I can show that where I use over here, where I use just lights from some Christmas lights from the Action, just €1, very cheap, for a nice picture.
Misschien dat je het hebt kunnen zien op deze camera hoe het ongeveer ging, maar het komt er eigenlijk om neer dat ik met deze kerstlampjes langs mijn auto loop, erachter langs, dat je een soort silhouet krijgt met daarachter een cirkel van kleuren. En die 15 seconden kwam aardig uit, dan ben ik vanaf het begin tot het einde, ik heb niet zo'n grote auto dus dat scheelt, ben ik precies van het begin tot het einde van mijn auto. En 12.
And then this is the end result of a picture like that. So those things you can use to make an interesting picture. So if you have some Christmas lights lying around, go out and play with it.
There's a question.
Ah, okay, there's a question.
Which Sigma art lens do you recommend for travel photography? Or which lens?
Yeah, depends on multiple things. I think for travel you do a lot of wide-angle shots, and if you have, I don't own a Sigma lens, but I know, for example, there's the Sigma Art 18 to 35. For the people who don't know, those are millimeters, and the angle of your lens is measured in millimeters. So it goes from 18, so it's pretty wide, to 35. f1.8. Hopefully everyone still knows that's the aperture. I know a friend of mine owns that one, and it's a really nice lens. But
Is it a wide lens or a zoom lens?
it's a wide, from 18 to 35, so it's a pretty wide angle lens. But I think for travel photography, you most use a wide angle lens. So I think that's a really nice one because of the wide aperture. You can use it also when it's almost dark already. And another, the only thing is I'm not sure if it's possible to use this on a full frame camera. There's a difference between a full frame camera and a crop sensor camera. I'm not going to make it very technical, but most pro level cameras are full frame and the consumer cameras are crop sensor. So it varies which lens you can use on what camera. So, but I think hopefully that can help. I think that's a really great lens.
There's another question.
Another question.
Can you recommend some nice places for shooting sunsets or sunrises near Groningen?
I would say just take a look at Google Maps. I use Google Maps a lot. The question was where can you take pictures of a sunset or a sunrise really around Groningen. So just go on Google Maps. If you just go to Google Maps, the top is the north, east, south, west. I think just the other way around because I'm pointing into the camera. But the sun rises in the east and the sun sets in the west. Keep that in mind and go look for places with a wide view, with water in front of it. I think it's at the south side of the Hoornse Plas, or Hoornse Meer. There's a wooden, I don't know the word in English, steiger?
Where you can walk on.
Yeah, a wooden thing you can walk on onto the water. I saw some pictures coming from there, so that's a really nice place. But most of the times I just Google around and find places like that. So that's hopefully a nice tip for you to find locations. All right, then I'll continue. Let me check. All right, more or less on schedule. So various supplies, and that can vary from think like this. This is a hand warmer. If you, it's in plastic, but when you open it up, it reacts with oxygen, and so when you shake it around a little bit, it gets warm. And you can put it maybe in your gloves, because sometimes in the night it can cool down very quick. So if you have these things around, it's very handy, and they're not even that expensive. I also have a rechargeable one in my pocket, I think, which is also a power bank combined, so you can also use that one if you don't want to use those throw-out ones. Other things, a flashlight like this, and also when you don't meet anyone you know, you can wear a headlight because it looks very funny, but it's real easy because you have your hands free to do whichever things you have to do, but you still have light around. And I use it pretty often, this one. So that's why some people won't talk to me anymore. No, just kidding. And I also have a bag like this in the car with things like some muesli bars or some candy things, some salty things. So I always have something to eat, and also, I think it's in here too, yeah, some water to drink with me. Because when you're out, so for example, when you drive for like an hour, you're there for like an hour and you have to drive back for like an hour, that's 3 hours in total. Maybe think I'm thirsty or I want to eat something, and maybe get some new energy from the sugars you have with you. So that can be very handy. I use it very often, so then I have to go back to the store, grab some new things and place it in my car again. So I have some stock at home and some stock in my car, and it's really nice. That's it for preparation, I guess. Let's go to the next step. If there are no questions. No, all right, let's continue. So on the location itself, search for different angles to take pictures from. So don't just walk there, take a picture like that, and then I had it once. I was shooting a picture. I thought I was happy with the picture I had like that. I came home, imported into Lightroom, and was like, why didn't I step a few steps to the left or to the right? So vary a little bit. You're already on that location, and it's no big deal to just walk around a little. That's also the fourth point. Vary in the points that you take pictures from. And also take time for that. Don't rush, because when you're rushing, maybe your focus isn't right, and then all your pictures are just blurry and they don't look very nice. And the other one, wait for the right moment. If you see this picture underneath, you see that there are some weird high lines. I was standing at the bus station in Drachten, the place I live, and I was standing there, and there was first when I was setting up my stop, there was a bus driving by, and buses have those high lights on the bus itself. So I thought that's nice, but I had to wait for like 30 minutes for another bus to come. It was late in the evening and there wasn't much traffic, so I had to wait for that right moment to take a picture of that bus driving, and also with the cars in front. So wait for the moment you're really happy with the picture you want to take over there, and then you can proceed. So that's everything for on location. And now we have the last step. So we had the preparation, where you grab all the food and the camera gear and special gear and all those things. Then on the location itself, you have the, just take your time, vary the angles. Then the last, third step is importing it into your laptop first, and then into Lightroom. So that's what I'm going to do too. So like I said, I'm going to show you my workflow in Adobe Lightroom. So I'm going to start Lightroom. And here we are. this is not night photography, this was food. So I'm going to select the pictures. I've shot these pictures a couple of days ago. It was 28th of February. It was foggy outside, and I really like foggy pictures. Not foggy pictures, but pictures when it's foggy. So I'm going to, first let me check. Yeah, first make sure you're in library mode, because when you're importing pictures, it must be in library mode. So I'm going to drag it to the left. And then I get this dialog window. Before we get started, I must say this is not the perfect way of working with Lightroom or something like that. It's just my way. As you learn with tools, in all the Adobe programs, there are multiple ways to do the same thing. So do it the way you prefer to do it. For example, things like this, I prefer to let Lightroom build smart previews because it takes a little bit more space on your hard drive, but Lightroom is going to make it's a smart preview. So when you're scrolling through your pictures, it already builds a preview before. So you can just click through your pictures very fast, especially when you're selecting like a selection of 200 pictures. It's really nice not to wait every time you click and click and click. It's way faster. It takes some time in the beginning, but you'll see. So select everything and click on import. Then on the left top side you'll see two operations in progress. First one is importing, and I think it's almost done now. Yeah, it's done now. And the other one, it says building smart previews. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select which pictures I want to get rid of immediately and which pictures I want to keep. Because if you don't do this and you have a selection of like 200 pictures, I didn't just do this before. I was just like importing everything, just grab one picture I've liked and added that one, exported that one, then everything went to a stack of hard drive, which is now like this. So you had like 200 pictures where you only used 1 or 2 pictures from. And that's not perfect. So I now work like this. So I just scroll through the pictures. And for example, this one, I have two almost the same pictures. I want to get rid of this one. I don't delete them immediately, because then I still can go back later on. So I delete them when I'm done with the whole edit. So now I press X on my keyboard, and X is going to mark it as rejected. I think you can already also see, yeah, set as rejected. But the reason I don't delete immediately, so I've now set this one as rejected too accidentally. You can see them because they're grayed out underneath here. You can press U to unflag the picture. You can get rid of that flag. So that's one reason. And let's see the last two. I think I like this one more, so I want to get rid of that one. And this one and this one. Let's just do this for now. Now we're going to make use of the filters. I like to work with those filters because then I can really easily get rid of all the rejected images at once. I already created a filter, but you can do that by yourself by going to flagged, and then I think it's the middle one. Nope, this one. Yeah. If you click on this one, it's going to only show the rejected pictures. So in this case, those 4 pictures. Then I'm going to select them all with Command, or if you're on Windows, Control A. Right click on it and click on Remove Photos. And I want to get rid of them definitely. So I want to delete them from my disk. Not only from Lightroom, because when you delete them from Lightroom, they're still on your hard drive, only not in Lightroom, so I want to get rid of them permanently. Now don't freak out, you didn't delete all the pictures, but you have to go back and click on filters off. You can also make a preset for those, just to see those flagged ones. I already did that, and I've called it rejected. I don't have rejected photos anymore because I've just deleted them. But you can make a new preset by clicking on Save Current Settings as New Preset while you're on that flag mode. Filters off. So that's the first thing that I'm going to do in Lightroom. I'm going to make a selection of the pictures I want to get rid of before I get started. Otherwise you're editing pictures you never are going to use. So now I continue to the develop mode. And let's make it a bit bigger. Yeah. What I mostly do is I edit one picture, and for all the pictures that have more or less similar lighting, I'm going to apply that edit on all the other pictures. But first, real quick, hopefully some of you remember the histogram before we start. The histogram is a visual representation of the amount of light in your picture. So as you can see, everything to this side is light and everything on this side is dark. So starting from light to dark, all the way to the left we have the whites, then we have the highlights, then in the middle we have the exposure, then we have the shadows, and all the way to the left the darkest colors in your picture are the blacks, the darkest tones. So you can adjust each of those segments separately over here. Highlights, shadows, whites and blacks, and of course on top you have the exposure. What I like to do, I have one more or less standard edit I'm applying to my pictures, especially landscape pictures, in this case night landscape pictures. I'm going to reduce the highlights, going to pump up the shadows a little bit to get a bit more detail in the shadows. Then I'm going to raise the clarity to around +60. So it's more or less highlights -50, shadows +50, clarity +60. And to compensate the loss of color, because if you're raising the clarity, you lose some color. So to compensate that, 20, 30 plus for the vibrance. Then when I press the / key on my keyboard, I can see the before and after. Also when you press the Y, you can see them side by side. So that's up to you. I prefer like this. And then you can see you get rid of some glow in the foreground. I know it was fog, but I like some details in there. You can also see it's foggy over there. So that's one basic edit. Now I'm going to apply that edit on all the other pictures. So I'm going to select them all. Then I think it's a bit hard to see, but the left one is a little bit lighter than the other ones. So that's Lightroom saying the first one is selected, but all the other ones are selected too. Now I'm just going to press on the sync button here on the right. Then you can select which of these settings you want to synchronize and click on synchronize, and then it's already done. So depending on the speed of your computer and also the amount of pictures and also the amount of edit you're doing, the time can vary a little bit, how much time it takes. So now let's go to the last one. If I press the / key again, I can toggle between the before and after. And I personally like the after a little bit better. So that's one basic edit, and that's applied on all of the pictures. But sometimes, for example, with a picture like this, it needs some more editing done. Because in my opinion it's still a little bit too light. And I'm going to drag this a little bit to the left. So I'm going to bring the exposure down. raise the clarity a little bit more, bring back some colors, because I really like the orange glow in the middle. It's almost a light pillar into the sky. Maybe get rid of some highlights.
In the meantime, can you, because you're now working in Lightroom Classic, but there's
Yeah.
also another version in the
Yeah,
app.
true. There are two versions of Lightroom. You have the normal Lightroom and the Lightroom Classic. I work in the Lightroom Classic because you have a little bit more options, and also the other Lightroom is cloud-based, and this one is more desktop-based. Since I'm working with such an amount of pictures, my cloud will be full very quick. Otherwise, you have to pay like 100 euros a month to keep everything in your Creative Cloud. But I prefer working in Lightroom Classic. I think, yeah, I've mentioned it before, the time lapses. And I've also mentioned you need 25 pictures each second. So if you want like 10 seconds, then you need 250 pictures. So that's a lot. 250 times 20 megabytes, which is most pictures of me are around 20 megabytes. So you need a lot of space just for one single time lapse. So therefore I prefer Lightroom Classic. If you maybe if you're new or to Lightroom, or you don't take pictures that often, you can use the normal Lightroom. Otherwise, I would advise you to use Lightroom Classic.
Do you also have like the Lightroom on your phone? Is that an option?
I have that one too, yeah, but that's just for pictures I take with my phone. When I don't have my camera with me, or when I'm too lazy to grab my camera out of the car, I grab my phone, and I have a fairly new phone, which you can use, and you can also use the Lightroom Classic. I think it's just the Lightroom one, the Lightroom app. You can download that, and you can do most of the settings you can do over here. You can do on your phone too. So that it's really fun to play with. If you don't own a camera, you can just use your phone. Remember, I think we've said it before, but this camera has a way bigger sensor in it, so the place where the light is going to be collected, compared to your phone. So the bigger the sensor, the more light it can catch. So if you have a smaller sensor in your phone, which is pretty small, you need more light to get a nice picture. So keep that in mind when you're going to take pictures. So night photography with your phone, not very advisable. I tried it. I have an iPhone 11, and I tried to do it with my with this tripod, and I placed a phone holder on top of it, and it is possible, but you get way more noise than with a camera like that, of course. This is a bit more expensive than an iPhone, so it's possible. You can try it to begin with, but later on this is a better option. More questions or no? All right. Then I'm going to continue. I think I'm done editing this one. So now I'm going to the part where I'm going to export the picture. And I have some presets. On this laptop I have just two, I think it was. Yeah, I have two. I'm going to show you. If you right click on the picture, go to export, and then go to export, I can show you one of my presets. This is called 1000 because it's resizing the pictures to 1000 pixels maximum for the height and the width. So therefore I've called it 1000. So I prefer having the pictures in the same folder as the original. So I have everything together. So I have my raw files. Those are the files that come out of my camera, which is a digital negative. But you can also use Lightroom with JPEG files. But like I said, I have my raw files in the folder. Then I have a subfolder, which you see over here, called JPEG. And over there you have you'll find the exported pictures. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'm not renaming the files. Some people prefer to rename their files to the project that they're working on. Lots of things, also with editing, is a matter of personal taste. And sometimes a matter of personal taste of the client you're working for. So keep that in mind too. Let's scroll down. It's not a video, so we're not using that. File settings, image format JPEG, and for the quality, I prefer to use the quality not all the way to the right, because then the files get unnecessarily bigger. So 85 is the perfect middle for me. The files are not too big, but the quality stays good enough. And here you see resize to fit 1000 by 1000. Not going to make a square, but it's going to limit either the width or the height of the picture. So if it's a landscape picture like this, it's going to limit the width, because that's the longest side of the picture. And when it's a portrait picture, so straight up, it's going to limit the height of the picture. Scroll down, don't have any sharpening going on. Metadata, you can leave that as it is. I don't use a watermark in my pictures. I think it's most of the times it's a shame for the picture you took. You you put a lot of effort in taking the picture. So, for example, you found a location. You went over there. You were there for like 2 hours. It was an hour driving. So in total, it took 4 hours. And in the end, you have one beautiful picture. And then you're like, let's put my pre-made logo right onto it. And then I think it's a shame for the picture. But as all the other things, it's also a personal preference too. All right. I'm going to cancel this just to show you how you can use those presets. So right click on the picture again, export, and instead of going to export, because you've already done all those settings before, because you've created a preset, let me show you how you can make the preset. You just put in, let's make a new one real quick, call it 200, it's a bit small, 2000. And we click on add and call it 2000. If you click on add, it's going to make a preset of all the settings you've just done on the right. Create, so cancel for now, export, and then you'll find 2000. So now when I'm going to click on it, on the left top side you see, oh, I've exported one before, so for now I'm going to overwrite. So on the left top side you see export one file, it's already done. Like I said earlier, same with the synchronization, also with the export. The amount of time it takes to export your files is based on how fast your computer is, how many files you have, etc. So let's go to the folder, and now we have this one called JPEG. And now we have our exported picture as a JPEG files where we can do a lot of things with. So for example, when I shot a picture, I've edited it and I want to place it on Instagram. I'm going to send it over AirDrop to my iPhone, and on my iPhone I'm going to place it on Instagram.
That's a question.
Yeah, a question.
Do you have any experience with the Olympus EM10II?
No. The question was if I have experience with the Olympus, some of the one of the Olympus models. But
So do you have any tips?
no, I think the tips I use are not only for Canon. I have a Canon camera, but you can use all the tips I have also for every brand of camera. I even go out with people with a Nikon camera. So no, just kidding. But it's always a battle between the Nikon and Canon. But
What kind of camera do you have?
I have a Canon 5D Mark III. It's already a bit older, but it's still good enough for me. Since it's not broken, and hopefully I keep it that way, I want to buy a new one. The most recent purchase was this camera, which is my vlogging camera, where you also saw some footage of. But I don't use it for photography very often. But for Olympus, one quick thing, I know they have some weird, very unique type of stabilization. So I think it was, you can handheld a night shot for like 4 seconds without a tripod. So it's very, I saw some videos going on. I still have to go, I think it's not the best time, but an old schoolmate of me, he works at Olympus, and he offered me to go out with a camera of Olympus, but I still have to do that. So maybe after that I have more experience with Olympus, but for now it's mostly Canon. Yeah.
And what's a good camera to start with if you want to
What's a good camera to start with? It's very hard to say because it all depends on the budget. Also, if you want to do more things with it, for example, this camera, it's a really nice camera since it has the microphone input, so I can use it for pictures. I very often do that, and I have a mic input. I have this tilty flippy screen thing, which is really easy when you're filming yourself. So for me, that was a good choice for a new camera. But maybe you have the downside, for example, of this camera. It has a different mount, so I can't mount lenses like this directly onto that camera. I have an adapter for that, but that's one of the downsides. Which brand do you want to use? Also personal taste, but I think under 500 euros, maybe you can check real quick. You don't have to share the screen yet, Maurice, because otherwise I'm making some advertising for...
Ads.
Yeah, that's not the idea. And also if you want to go mirrorless or just keep it, because that's a newer trend. Yeah, it's under the $500, euros, sorry. The Canon EOS 2000D with the standard kit lens. I think it's a great option to start with. But I don't know if you have that kind of budget, if you want to spend that much money on a camera, if you're not sure. What I can recommend, I did the same. The first camera I bought it second-handed. It was like 350 euros, I think it was. I had the camera, I think I had the kit lens and the lens that came with it, and it was also included a bag and a flash, I think it was, or not. Yeah, I think it was that. So I bought that bundle for 350. So go to maybe on social media or Marktplaats or whatever way you want to buy your second-hand stuff. You can also try that if you want to check if it's something for you. Any other questions? No? What I can do, where do I have? I can show some pictures. Examples. Yeah, here we are. Can I make this bigger? No. Let's open them. Why does it open in two? Well, then we'll do it like this. So I've shot this picture with the lightning trigger I've showed you earlier. I was very lucky. And this is just in the Netherlands, so you can take pictures like this in the Netherlands. So you don't have to go to, of course it's way more fun in America, but to take pictures like that. But it requires some more budget and it requires traveling. I wanted to, before I talk about every picture I've shot, not every picture I've shot, but which I have over here, I think, here it is. This picture is taken with a sparkler, like I talked to you earlier about. I used my remote and then one sparkler, I think it was 10 or 15 seconds. That's the duration, so I've set my shutter speed to 10 or 15 seconds, and then I just finished one round around that tree. So it was timing with the remote and walking around, but it was really fun to do, and it's really easy. You just put your camera on a tripod, and it doesn't have to be a very expensive tripod. If you just get started and you want to get some experience with it, and you're not sure if you want to continue with that, you can also buy a tripod of like 30 euros. Keep in mind that they're way less steady, so when it's very windy, don't go out with a very cheap tripod. I found out the hard way.
Do you have any experience with editorial photography?
With
Editorial.
editorial for like magazines and stuff? I think it's for like magazines and stuff. I'm not really sure. Maybe you can specify the question a little bit. In the meantime, I'll continue with some nice night pictures. This one was also in Amsterdam during the Amsterdam Light event. An old wind. Yeah, magazine. I don't have that. Only for menus of restaurants. Like you saw earlier in my Lightroom, I had still some pictures open from some product pictures, and those were meant for social media, but I also did it for the different restaurant, for the menu. And of course I've shot some pictures, some architecture pictures, not specific for magazines, but also, yeah, you can use everything in a magazine, so.
Another question about the tree photo.
Yeah.
How do you focus on the tree as well as the stars?
Since you're, I've shot this picture, I think it was f4. Let me check if I can still see that. Probably can. Exif. Yeah, f number 4. So the aperture was f4. That's the maximum. I think it was 20. It was this lens. Yeah, it was also this lens. I've shot a picture with this one. That's the widest aperture. But things close to the camera, the closer you get to the camera, the smaller the depth of field is. Since the tree is already pretty far away, let me click this one away and click it full screen. Since the tree is already pretty far away, it was like 10-15 meters from the camera. The farther you go from the camera, the bigger the depth of field gets, even though it's only at f4. So therefore, you have the tree and also the stars in focus.
This was 15 meters?
Not the tree itself in height, but I think it was something like that.
You have to run very fast.
No, remote.
Oh, remote.
Yeah. So therefore, I've used a wireless remote instead of. You can also buy wired remotes, and that's fine when you're standing next to the camera. But then you have to run real quick with your sparkler. Let me just search for another nice one. This one, it was made in Tromsø, in Norway, the most northern part, the most northern international airport of Europe, and that's why I also went there for the Northern Lights. But I think that one opened in a, yeah, that one opened in a different. Let me grab it real quick. Like this. This was shot in Norway, in Tromsø. So if you want to shoot the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis, you have to go way up to see it really good. Sometimes it can happen that when you're in the Netherlands. So last night there was this very, very small chance to take pictures of the Northern Lights from the Netherlands. I tried it, but it wasn't very successful. But it can happen that you can take pictures from the Northern Lights from the Netherlands, but to see it and take photos of it better, you really have to go higher. So therefore, Tromsø is a very good option. 5 more minutes. All right. Any questions left coming in? Then real quick. This one, that's the last story. Then I'll. I've shot this one in Drachten, the place I live in. I drove for like I think it was 45 minutes to a different location because the thunderstorm was going over there. So I drove to there. Then nothing happened over there, and when I was driving back, the thunderstorm was hitting Drachten. So I really had to drive through the storm, go to a high place in Drachten where it was where there's also a roof on top of us, and then in the end I've just shot it at like a 5-minute drive from my home, and I've shot this picture. So it was fun. I think it was 2000 and can I see the date? No, that's the resized date. Maybe I can check the 2015 it was. So it's a little while ago. So any last questions coming in or nothing anymore? All right. And then I thank you all for watching this masterclass. Hopefully I've inspired you to do some more photography and do some more night photography, and just go out. We're entering the good time of the year to go out in the evenings. For this moment, make sure you're home before 9 o'clock, but also before 9 o'clock you can do lots and lots of fun stuff outside with your camera. So good luck with that, and hopefully we see some nice results coming in for tools this block.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Maurice. Bye-bye.
Bye all.